You keep doing the math. Everyone your age seems to be somewhere. Married or promoted, or healed or settled, while you're still standing in the same spot. You were standing in last year. Same struggle. Same unanswered question. Same unfinished version of yourself staring back in the mirror. You've started calling it falling behind. You scroll past someone's announcement, someone's milestone, someone's breakthrough, and something in your chest tightens. Not just envy, something closer to panic. Like there's a clock running somewhere and you're the only one who can hear it. What if you're not actually behind? What if what feels like stalling is actually still under construction? By the end of this video, you're going to see Philippians 1:6, the way it was actually meant to be understood. And it's going to change how you look at every unfinished part of your life. Here's an image to hold on to. Think of a construction site behind a chain link fence. Scaffolding everywhere. Exposed beams. Dust in the air. Nothing about it looks finished. Nothing about it looks like anything, really, except mess. But nobody walking past assumes the building has failed. They assume it's in progress. They know construction. Looks like chaos long before it. Looks like anything worth photographing. Hold that image. We'll come back to it. Now let's set the scene. Paul wrote this letter from prison, chained, uncertain if he'd live or die, writing to a church he loved deeply. And in the middle of that uncertainty, in circumstances that looked anything but finished, he writes one of the most quoted lines in the New Testament, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. Notice what he doesn't say. He doesn't say the work is finished. He doesn't say it looks impressive yet. He says it's being carried on, present tense, ongoing, incomplete by design at this exact moment. That distinction matters more than you think. And to understand why, you need to meet two people. The first is the striver. The striver treats an unfinished life like evidence of failure. If the marriage hasn't happened, if the healing hasn't come, if the calling still feels foggy, he assumes something has gone wrong, that he's fallen out of God's timeline, or worse, that God has moved on without him. So he panics. He forces doors open that were never meant to open yet. He tries to finish, on his own timeline, a work that was never his to finish alone. The second is the abider. The abider looks at the exact same unfinished life, sometimes with the exact same ache. But underneath the waiting, something is different. The abider isn't measuring himself against a finish line. Other people seem to have crossed. He's trusting the hands doing the building. He remembers that scaffolding isn't a sign of ruin. It's a sign that someone is still working. Same construction site, same mess. Two completely different postures underneath. Hear this clearly. Paul never says the process will feel finished from the inside. Look again at the verse. We'll carry it on to completion. Carry on. Meaning it's still happening. Meaning you're inside the work right now, not outside looking at a failed one. The unfinished feeling isn't proof the builder walked away. It's proof the building is still standing open, still receiving new beams, still being shaped. The striver hears unfinished and reads abandoned, but the abider keeps reading, because the promise was never that the work would feel complete today. The promise was that the one who started it has never once put down his tools. Think back to that construction site. From outside the fence it looks like nothing. From inside the blueprint, every beam is exactly where it needs to be for what's coming next. That's not a smaller hope than the one you thought you were living without. It's a steadier one, not stalled, not forgotten, formed one exposed beam at a time by hands that have never left the site. So what do you actually do while you're still under construction? Not spiritually, practically. What changes on the ordinary? Tuesday when everyone else's life looks finished and yours still. Looks like scaffolding? Here are 3 shifts, not techniques, postures. Shift 1, the comparison shift. The flip, stop measuring your blueprint against someone else's finished building. The practice, the next time you feel that tightening in your chest scrolling past someone's milestone. Name it out loud. That's their completion date. Not mine. You're not denying their joy. You're refusing to let their timeline become the ruler you measure your own unfinished work by. Shift 2, the language shift. The flip, stop calling the waiting season stuck and start calling it under construction. The practice. Pick one area of your life that feels stalled, a relationship, a calling, a healing, and literally rename it in your own words. Now, this is going nowhere, but this is still being built. Language shapes how you carry a season, long before the season itself changes. Shift 3, the confidence shift. The flip, stop borrowing anxiety about the outcome and start borrowing Paul's confidence about the builder. The practice, read Philippians 1:6, the way Paul wrote it, as a settled fact, not a hopeful guess. Being confident of this. Let that confidence rest on who's building, not on how far along the building looks today. Here's what life looks like on the other side of this. You still have unfinished parts of your story. The marriage might still be waiting. The healing might still be incomplete. The calling might still feel foggy some mornings, but something underneath softens. You stop treating every exposed beam as proof you failed. You start walking past your own scaffolding, the way you'd walk past someone else's construction site, with patience instead of panic. Because you know what dust and mess actually mean. It means someone is still working. It means the building hasn't been abandoned. It means you. That's the whole difference between striving and abiding. The striver treats an unfinished life as a verdict against him. The abider treats an unfinished life as evidence the builder is still on site. It's not about how far along you look today. It's about who's still carrying the work forward. It's not about finishing on your own timeline. It's about trusting the hands that started it in the first place. If this spoke to something you've been quietly comparing, comment below, Builder, I trust the process. Let that be your prayer today. Not because the scaffolding feels finished, but because the hands doing the work have never once walked away. If this helped reframe a season you've been calling behind, share it with someone who's convinced their unfinished life means a failed one. And if you want more of Scripture, explained simply, the way it was actually meant to be understood, subscribe to Bible Revelation. This is what we do here.